The rental truck's engine ticked in the driveway as Alex stared at the mountain of cardboard boxes, each one labeled in his meticulous handwriting: kitchen, essential, office, fragile, bedroom, books. 3 years of accumulated life reduced to a dozen brown containers, and whatever dignity he could salvage from moving back to his hometown at 30-2. The June heat pressed against his back as he hefted another box, his designer sneakers already gray with dust. This wasn't how he'd pictured his triumphant return. In his imagination, he'd have been driving something sleeker than a U-Haul, moving into something grander than the modest rental house on Maple Street. But the freelance design work had dried up after his biggest client went under, and his savings account had forced some uncomfortable recalibrations of his expectations. "You look like you could use some help." Alex turned to find a woman. "Maya's going through her auteur phase," Linda explained, "serving pasta with practiced grace. Last month, it was Kubrick. The month before, Tarantino." Which was a mistake, Sophie interjected quietly. She quoted Pulp Fiction at the grocery store. Alex laughed, delighted by the family dynamic. Maya rolled her eyes at her sister, but was clearly pleased to have found a kindred spirit. The conversation flowed easily from films to music to art, with Maya peppering Alex with questions about his design work and Linda listening with genuine interest. "You make logos for companies?" Sophie asked during a lull. "Among other things, I design websites, create marketing materials, sometimes book covers." Sophie considered this. "Do you like making things pretty or making them work?" It was a surprisingly sophisticated question from an 8-year-old. Alex found himself really thinking about the answer. "Both, I hope. The best design is beautiful and functional." Sophie nodded as if this confirmed something important. "You fit in naturally here," she said, matter-of-factly, then returned to her pasta. Linda caught Alex's eye across the table, her expression soft with something that might have been pride or affection or simple warmth. But there was something else there too, a kind of wondering. As if she was seeing him clearly for the first time, the evening stretched longer than any of them had planned. "Maya's going through her auteur phase," Linda explained, "serving pasta with practiced grace. Last month, it was Kubrick. The month before, Tarantino." Which was a mistake, Sophie interjected quietly. She quoted Pulp Fiction at the grocery store. Alex laughed, delighted by the family dynamic. Maya rolled her eyes at her sister, but was clearly pleased to have found a kindred spirit. The conversation flowed easily from films to music to art, with Maya peppering Alex with questions about his design work and Linda listening with genuine interest. "You make logos for companies?" Sophie asked during a lull. "Among other things, I design websites, create marketing materials, sometimes book covers." Sophie considered this. "Do you like making things pretty or making them work?" It was a surprisingly sophisticated question from an 8-year-old. Alex found himself really thinking about the answer. "Both, I hope. The best design is beautiful and functional." Sophie nodded as if this confirmed something important. "You fit in naturally here," she said, matter-of-factly, then returned to her pasta. Linda caught Alex's eye across the table, her expression soft with something that might have been pride or affection or simple warmth. But there was something else there too, a kind of wondering. As if she was seeing him clearly for the first time, the evening stretched longer than any of them had planned. Conversation meandering through childhood stories and travel dreams, Maya's ambitious plans for film school, Sophie's quiet observations about everything from the neighbors' cat to the way candlelight made everyone look more like themselves. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Alex turned to find Sophie studying him with those perceptive eyes that missed nothing. At 15, she often seemed older than her years, and right now she looked positively ancient. "Just needed some air," he said weakly. Sophie closed the patio door behind her and leaned against it, arms crossed. "You like my mom, don't you?" The directness of the question caught him off guard. He opened his mouth to deny it, then closed it again. Sophie deserved. "Better than a lie? It's complicated, Sophie. She's special." Sophie nodded slowly, as if he'd confirmed something she'd suspected for a while. "She's been happier since you moved here. It's more like herself, if that makes sense. Before, she was just going through the motions. Work, us, sleep, repeat. Now she laughs more, really laughs, not just the polite kind. Alex felt his throat constrict. Sophie, I'm not stupid, Alex. I see how you both get quiet when the other person enters a room. How you find excuses to be helpful. How Mom actually bought new clothes for the first time in years. Sophie's expression was serious but not unkind. I also see how guilty you both look about it. Before Alex could respond, the patio door opened. Again, there you are. Linda appeared, her cheeks flushed from the warmth of the house. Maya's about to cut the cake. Alex, she specifically requested your presence. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of cake cutting, present opening, and grateful hugs. Alex participated with forced enthusiasm, hyper-aware of Linda's every movement, every glance, every accidental touch. By the time the last guest left and Maya had retired to her room to call friends and post photos, the weight of unspoken words felt unbearable. The next morning brought an unusually warm Saturday. Alex was grading papers on his balcony when Linda appeared in the yard below, wrestling with an unwieldy rose bush. Need some help? He called down. She looked up, shading her eyes against the sun. I'm trying to transplant this monster before. They sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of acknowledged feelings and acknowledged impossibilities pressing down on them both. So we acknowledge this, Alex said finally. We admit what we feel, but we don't act on it. Can you do that? Linda asked. Can you live with loving someone you can't have? Alex considered the question seriously. Can I live with pretending these feelings don't exist? No, I tried that, and it was destroying me. Can I live with loving you from a distance? Being your friend and neighbor and the girl's mentor, knowing that's all we can be? I think so. It has to be better than the alternative, which is losing all of you completely. Linda nodded slowly. I think I can live with that too. With being honest about what we feel, while being responsible about what we do. It's going to be hard, Alex warned. Most worthwhile things are. Linda stood to leave, then turned back at the door. Alex, thank you for being honest, for not trying to convince me to choose differently, for understanding why I can't. Thank you for trusting me with the truth. After she left, Alex sat in his apartment as the afternoon light faded, feeling simultaneously emptied and filled. The confession had changed everything and nothing. He still loved Linda Martinez. She loved him back. And they would both choose responsibility over desire, duty. And are we doing anything stupid, I mean? Sophie considered this seriously. No, I think you're both doing something really hard but really right. Mom's happier when you're around, but not in a way that makes me and Maya feel forgotten. And you, ... Double quotes, she studied his face. You look like someone who found something he didn't know he was looking for. That night, after the family had dispersed to their respective evening routines, Alex sat on his balcony, reflecting on Sophie's words. She was right, he had found something he didn't know he was looking for. Not the traditional romantic relationship he might have once imagined, but something deeper and more complex. He thought about the man he'd been 6 months ago. Adrift, defining his life by what he lacked rather than what he had. That man would have seen his current situation as a failure, consolation prize, story without a proper ending. But Alex had learned something profound about love in these months with the Martinez family. Love wasn't always about possession or exclusivity or following prescribed patterns. Sometimes love was about witnessing someone's daily kindness and being grateful for the privilege. Sometimes it was about choosing to make someone else's life better without expecting anything in return except the joy of their presence. He loved Linda fully, completely without reservation. But he also loved Maya's bright laughter and Sophie's fierce intelligence and the way the three of them had made space for him in their world. He loved their Sunday morning pancake chaos and their heated debates about book adaptations and the way they'd all learned to accommodate his terrible cooking attempts. This love, unconventional as it was, had given him something he'd never had before, a sense of belonging that wasn't contingent on romantic fulfillment. He was part of something larger than himself, woven into the daily fabric